Hey everybody, it's that time again. We've had a load of parts come in now, so I think today I'm going to focus on getting this thing, getting the oils checked and changed, getting the filters done and a few other odd jobs done on it, and we will see where we go from there. So got a fuel filter come in, got the power steering filter, got the power steering O-ring, if you remember, that little fella that goes on there. I've got the multi-power filter, I've got the turbo filter, main oil filter, got the inner air filter and the outer air filter. So I'm going to get all that done. Oh, and also the thermostat device. Few people were interested in these. A lot of people said they'd never actually seen one before. So just in case, you can see down inside there, there is a little heating element and a needle valve at the end there. So when you put 12 volts onto there, it gets that heating element up to red hot, drips fuel on it and warms up the air in the inlet manifold as you're trying to start it. Makes it easy to start. So that's one little job. Another one, very often neglected and overlooked, and how many of you, I wonder, have ever done this? You can see in there, under the air cleaner, next to the oil cooler, there's a filter housing. Now that is the filter housing originally for multi-power, but it also does the independent PTO circuit if you've got one fitted. It's the low pressure, it's fed off the low pressure side of the auxiliary pump, or the multi-power pump, and it's often referred to as a multi-power filter. Anyway, usually gets neglected. Most people forget it's there, but it still needs to be changed, or checked at least. And I've got a new one here because it's probably never been checked in the last 20 years, so might be worth having a look at. There's the turbo filter down there. And yeah, so I'll get the oil dropped out, get those filters changed, and oh yeah, I'll probably do the strainer underneath the transmission as well, just so we can have a look at that too. Okay, let's get on with it. I don't know how many of you can remember, but I pointed out a while ago that there's one of the ears broken off this oil cooler, and it's been flopping around in the front here, and you can see it's got a bit battered. So for the fantastic sum of £26, I have got myself a replacement. Now it is not exactly the same dimensions. I'm not too worried about that, because although it's slightly longer but not as thick, it does have pretty much the same surface area for cooling as that one that's in there. And I doubt that anybody, when they were building these turbo kits, actually went to the trouble to work out exactly how much heat they needed to dissipate. I'm going to put this one on. This thing is never going to be out ploughing for 12 hours a day, so again, I'm not that worried about it. We can always do some oil temperature measurements when we get the thing running again. It wasn't the greatest design. Little dealer job there, look, they just drilled a few holes in that strut, bolted that ear on, and then over the years vibration has caused his ear to drop off. It's a bit like Van Gogh there. But, So what I'll do is pull those two bolts out there, and I shall make myself a new bracket that anchors onto the ears on either end of this and sits up there slightly more out of the way and a little bit more securely mounted. So there's another little job I think I'll get on with over the next day or so. Anyway, here we go. Let's have a look and see what the air filter's like. This is going to be an interesting one. Who knows when this was last touched? Actually, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Is there a date anywhere on this? No, they quite often put dates on air filters, but looks like this one hasn't got a date. But so that's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that's a good start. Let's see if we can get the inside one out. It's just another little butterfly screw on the end of the wing nut, or whatever you want to call it. It's one of them. These things, the inner ones, quite often get neglected and people forget about them. So let's have a look and see what we've got on this one. What's the thread always? Oh! There, right. Again, pleasantly surprised. Not that bad. And it's a genuine massy part. There you go. Wonders will never cease. If I didn't have a new one, I wouldn't be too bothered about blowing that out and putting that back. But I got a new one, so let's put that in. Right, well, obviously I didn't do it on camera, but before anybody complains, I have wiped out the worst of the lumps and the bumps and the bits and pieces from inside the air cleaner. And so now let's get the new one put in. Okay, so that's that in there. I've retrieved my missing wing nut from under the battery, where of course it went as far as possible as it could go from anywhere I could reach. And let's get that back in there. There's a compressible rubber seal on the end of this, which you want to do this up tight enough so that the thing doesn't rotate anymore, but not so tight that you crush the rubber seal beyond recognition. That should be fine. It doesn't rotate easily. Okay, let's get the outer filter in. Okay, now we go. And hopefully there's enough of that sticking through that we can get this on. That's going to have need a bit of a revision. Hold on. Right, that needed both hands to get that started, but I got that on. And now that is good and tight. That rubber is sealing around the lip round there, and there's a compressible rubber seal at the other end. So that's that job done. That's good. Right, let's move on to the next thing. Right, I've replaced that nut that was missing, and you can just see a shiny head in there. That bolt was missing there, 3/8 UNF, so I've replaced that, so that should stop the exhaust leaking. Next step now, I'm just going to get that put back together so I can top up the steering pump, and this thing can be mobile again. Right, I'll just pick the O-ring out of its groove with a seal pick. Let's get that out of there, and I'll get the groove cleaned up and get the new 1 in place. Right, what you can't see is that it is now 4 days later. I've had a bit of an emergency. I've had to leave off this, but I want to get this put back together and run up to at least so I can get a video posted this week. Right, so I've cleaned round the back of the pump. I've cleaned the pump reservoir, cleaned out the groove there. So I'm going to put the new O-ring in, give it a light lubrication with AT fluid, and get the filter in the right way round this time, because as I said in the previous video, you see the previous owner had it in the wrong way round. There is a way round for this, because it draws oil in through the screen, and those holes there need to go up against that end, so oil can get through into the pump. The way it was round when I took the old one off is those holes were outside, so whatever oil was getting through to the pump was being drawn round that bolt there, through that little tiny hole there, and not really being filtered at all. So we'll put it back together the right way round and get it topped up and get it tested. Okay, O-ring on, filter on, right way round, rubber seal and a washer on that end. Springs tightened down so it's not quite spring bound. There is a little bit of give in it, but that's got enough thread on it to screw the nut on the end. So let's get the cover on, get it filled up with fluid and give it a go. Reservoir is on. That breather should be vertical. I've cleaned out the breather as well, by the way, just in case anyone's worried. Now let's just tighten it up, and you can see that as you tighten it up, it draws it on over the O-ring, and that's it. Don't over tighten it. I've seen these people where people have crushed the ends of these in. It doesn't need to be over tightened, so long as it's not going to leak, we're all right. Next stage, let's get some oil in there. AT fluid is what the handbook recommends. It only holds a couple of pints, I think, a quart, litre, whatever you call it, what you will. Let's get that in there and see if we can get the thing started up and get the air out of the system. Right, let's get the raspberry sauce in there. Use the Diplomatic 2000. A little bit more. Actually, that looks full, so I'm just going to screw the plug in lightly, and we'll run it up and see what happens. There, that's perfect, that is. See the front wheels turning, just one finger on the steering, and there we go. Lovely. Okay. Right, well, that's that. I'm sorry this is a much shorter video than I was hoping to do this week. As I said, circumstances beyond my control. I would have taken the camera with me. I just didn't have a chance. I've just been so busy. Anyway, tomorrow, or sorry, rather next week, I'm not sure if I'm going to have anything up next weekend, but the weekend afterwards I'll see if I can get a double dose maybe. I don't know. I'll see what I can do for you. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for joining. And thanks for giving a hand. Have a good week. Thanks everyone. Bye.